These are the 7 levels of Plants vs. Zombies. Level 1, Trash Zombies. These are the zombies that make you think you're some kind of strategic genius because you managed to plant a single pea shooter and watch it get obliterated in 4 shots. The brown coat sits dead last on this list because it's literally designed to die. It has exactly 190 health points, moves at a glacial basic speed of about 5 seconds per tile, and its only ability is eating plants and shuffling towards your house. 4 peas, and it's done. You'd think this makes it harmless, but here's where the psychology gets twisted. The original Plants vs. Zombies throws these at you in waves, sometimes 20 or 30 at once, and suddenly your "I'm a tactical mastermind" fantasy collapses when you realize you spent all your sun on sunflowers. And now there's a conga line of decaying flesh shuffling through your pea shooters. The brown coat teaches you the first rule of any apocalypse. Numbers don't care about your individual victories. Sure, you killed one, but here come 40 more, and your reload time just became your death sentence. Across the franchise, this basic zombie evolves from tutorial fodder in Plants vs. Zombies 1 to a nostalgic callback in Plants vs. Zombies 2's time travel chaos, showing up in ancient Egypt as a mummified version that spawns tombstones to block your plant placement. The harsh truth is that the brown coat's low ranking doesn't mean it's harmless. It means it's the lie you tell yourself before everything goes sideways. And speaking of lies, level 5 is going to shatter your entire understanding of what defense even means. But we're not there yet. Now let me introduce you to the Flag Zombie, but there's the twist. This thing is a walking warning siren. It shows up in all levels except the tutorial with the same 190 health and basic speed as the brown coat, but its real job is psychological warfare. When you see a Flag Zombie, you know a huge wave is about to hit, and the game is basically telling you to prepare for a burst of firepower or die trying. In some versions, you can even customize this zombie. The Flag Zombie marks intensity spikes that force you to stop micromanaging individual lanes and start thinking about survival across your entire lawn. It's not about killing one zombie anymore. It's about whether your defenses can handle the 30 zombies that just spawned behind it. But if you think a warning flag is scary, wait until you meet the zombies that actually require you to think beyond point and shoot. Level 2, Basic Zombies. Here's where casual players start sweating because the game just introduced the concept of you can't just spam the same strategy forever. The Conehead and Buckethead zombies rank at level 2 because they're the first wake-up call that armor exists, and your pea shooters are now shooting spitballs at a traffic cone. The Conehead straps on a 370 health traffic cone, bumping its total durability to 560, while the Buckethead goes full Home Depot cosplay with a 1,100 health bucket for a combined 1,290 health. People see these and immediately panic plant everything they've got. Let's break down why these two are survival lessons, disguised as minor inconveniences. The Conehead is your warning shot. It's still moving at basic speed, still just walking forward and eating plants, but now it takes about 11 pea shooter shots instead of 4. That's almost triple the time, which means triple the plants getting eaten, triple the sun you're hemorrhaging to replace defenses, and triple the chances you planted something stupid in a panic. The Buckethead is where math starts betraying you. That bucket absorbs so much damage that you're either committing serious firepower like cabbage pults lobbing over the armor or magnet shrooms ripping it off. Or you're watching this thing munch through 3 rows of sunflowers while you're frantically clicking your recharge timers. The psychological trap here is escalation. New players see armor and think I need more of the same thing, so they plant 5 pea shooters in one lane, completely ignoring the fact that the Buckethead in lane 3 is about to knock on their door while they're distracted. The real kicker is how these zombies teach you about resource management in an apocalypse. In Plants vs. Zombies 1, these guys first show up around level 1-5, giving you just enough time to get cocky before the night levels introduce newspaper zombies that sprint after you destroy their morning read. In Plants vs. Zombies 2, they return as familiar faces across multiple worlds. Ancient Egypt coneheads spawn with tombstones. Pirate Sea's bucketheads come with parrots that steal your sun, constantly reminding you that armor is just the beginning of your problems. But here's where it gets interesting. The screen door zombie takes the armor concept and cranks it up a notch by turning itself into a walking riot shield. This thing shows up with protected toughness and basic speed, carrying a screen door that blocks your peas completely unless you remove it with a magnet shroom. Catapults and fumes can bypass the shield partially, but if you're running a pea shooter heavy setup, this zombie just walks through your damage. The zombie teaches you that different armor types require different solutions, and if you don't diversify your plant lineup, you're dead. And the honest truth is that failing this test sets up a pattern of thinking that Dr. Zomboss, yeah, we're talking about him already, will exploit in the final battle to turn your own strategy against you. Then there's the newspaper zombie. This zombie starts slow, shuffling forward at basic speed with average toughness, casually reading its newspaper. But the second you destroy that newspaper, it doubles its speed and starts grunting angrily, suddenly racing toward your plants. The newspaper has its own health pool that peas can chip away at, but catapults don't affect it, which means if you're relying on cabbage pults, you're not triggering the speed boost, and you might not even notice the mechanic exists. Here's why this zombie is level 2 in psychological warfare. It appears in night levels around 2-1, and the first time it speeds up, most players panic because their mental math just broke. You planned for a slow zombie, you allocated firepower accordingly, and now it's moving twice as fast and your walnut is getting shredded before your pea shooters can catch up. The acceleration can overwhelm unprepared lanes, especially if you've got multiple newspaper zombies staggered so they're all entering rage mode at different times. But if you think strapping on a traffic cone is the pinnacle of zombie evolution, buckle up, because we're about to meet the undead that rewrote the rules on how to ruin your day. Level 3, Mid-Zombies. Welcome to Level 3, where zombies learned that going around your defenses is way more effective than going through them, and your carefully planned strategy just became expensive lawn decorations. The Pole Vaulter and Dolphin Rider rank here because they introduce mobility, the apocalypse concept that turns static defenses into comedy sketches. The Pole Vaulter sprints at hungry speed, 3.75 seconds per tile, nearly 25% faster than basics, and uses a pole to vault clean over your first plant like it's an Olympic event, landing behind your front line to start eating your sunflowers. The Dolphin Rider does the same trick in pool levels, riding a dolphin that jumps over your first aquatic plant, bypassing your lily pad defenses, and turning your carefully zoned water lanes into express highways straight to your house. Here's why these zombies are survival nightmares wrapped in cartoon physics. The Pole Vaulter has 340 health, which isn't massive, but speed plus mobility equals dead plants before you can react. It shows up in level 1-8 of Plants vs Zombies 1, right when you're starting to feel confident about your pea shooter rows, and suddenly one of these track star corpses is hurdling your walnut and eating the sunflower you planted 3 tiles back because you thought surely nothing gets past the walnut. The counter is tall nuts, which are too high to vault. But here's the trap. Tall nuts cost 125 sun, and if you're spending that much on every lane to stop one zombie type, you're broke when the bucketheads and coneheads roll in behind them. The Dolphin Rider is even worse because it operates in water, where your plant options are already limited to whatever fits on a lily pad. It appears in level 3-8, and the only reliable counter is Tangle Kelp, which is a one-time use instant kill that costs 25 sun per zombie. Do the math. 5 lanes, multiple Dolphin Riders per wave, and you're spending sun faster than you're generating it. Now let's talk about the Ducky Tube zombie variants. These are pool-exclusive versions that match the strength of their land counterparts. So you've got Ducky Tube flag zombies, Ducky Tube coneheads, and Ducky Tube bucketheads, all floating toward your house on inflatable tubes. They emerge from ambushes covered in weeds, adding surprise elements to aquatic levels that were already a resource nightmare. The psychological warfare here is layering. You're managing armored zombies in tubes that soak damage while the vaulters are eating your back row, and suddenly you're fighting a two-front war in a single lane. Speaking of which, the snorkel zombie is mobility as a cheat code. This thing submerges in water, making it invulnerable to non-lobbed attacks except when it surfaces to eat plants. It has average toughness and basic speed, but good luck hitting it with your pea shooters when it's underwater 90% of the time. It appears in pool levels and shows up in Zombaquarium mini-games, and the only reliable counters are Tangle Kelp, which is expensive and one-time use, or lobbed shot plants like cabbage pults and melon pults that can hit underwater targets. The problem is that lobbed shot plants cost 100 to 300 sun and fire slower than direct shooters, so if you're building an entire water defense around countering snorkel zombies, you're sacrificing damage output and economy for survival. The snorkel zombie teaches you that invulnerability phases are the apocalypse's way of saying your damage doesn't matter if you can't apply it. And if you don't have the right tools, you're just watching your plants die while the threat swims past untouched. The psychological warfare these zombies wage is brutal. In Plants vs Zombies 2, mobility gets even nastier. Swashbuckler zombies in Pirate Seas literally land mid-lawn via rope swings. Jetpack zombies in Far Future fly over everything, and parasol zombies block your lobbed shot counters, forcing you to adapt or die. The Pole Vaulter and Dolphin Rider are your introduction to the idea that the apocalypse doesn't wait for you to build the perfect defense. It finds the gap and exploits it while you're still reading the instruction manual. But if you think a pole and a dolphin are creative problem solving, wait until we meet the zombies that literally explode your defenses into mulch. Level 4, Cult Classic Zombies. At level 4, we've graduated from annoying to actively sabotaging your entire setup. And these two zombies are why you start questioning if tower defense is even the right genre for this madness. The Jack-in-the-Box zombie and balloon zombie rank here because they introduce chaos and flight, two mechanics that turn your carefully planned grid into a war zone where planning means nothing and luck is your only friend. Jack-in-the-Box shambles forward at hungry speed with 340 health, cranking a little music box that plays a jaunty tune until it randomly explodes, dealing 1 in 800 damage in a 1-3 area and vaporizing every plant in the blast radius. The balloon zombie floats over your ground defenses at flighty speed, 0.5 seconds per tile, literally 10 times faster than a brown coat, with 240 health, bypassing every single plant that isn't anti-air and landing in your backyard before you can say, wait, zombies can fly now. Let's talk about why Jack-in-the-Box is a mental war crime. This zombie first appears in fog levels around 4-3, where visibility is already garbage, and you're squinting at silhouettes trying to figure out which shambling corpse is about to ruin your day. The explosion is RNG-based, meaning you have no idea if it's going to detonate in 5 seconds or 50, so you can't plan around it. The optimal counter is freezing it with ice shroom or killing it instantly with squash, but both are expensive and single-use, and if you miss the timing, congratulations, you just lost 3 plants, including that melon pult you spent 300 sun on. The real kicker is clustering. If you build dense defenses, walnuts, tall nuts, shooters all grouped together, one Jack-in-the-Box explosion turns your fortress into a crater. It's the zombie equivalent of a suicide bomber, except it's shuffling toward your house with a smile and a music box. The balloon zombie is flight as a middle finger to game mechanics. Showing up in level 4-5, this thing floats over tall nuts, walnuts, every ground shooter you've planted, and lands directly on your sunflowers or melon pults in the back rows, eating your economy while your front line is fighting the rest of the horde. The counter is Cactus, which can shoot upwards and pop the balloon, or Blover, which blows all flying zombies off the screen for 100 sun. But here's the trap. Cactus is 125 sun and occupies a plant slot you were probably using for damage or stalling, and Blover is a reactive tool that requires you to notice the balloon zombie before it lands. If you're managing 5 lanes of chaos, pole vaulters, bucket heads, digger zombies tunneling from behind, you're not watching the sky, and by the time you hear the munching sounds, your back row is gone. In Plants vs. Zombies 2, flight gets even worse. Seagull zombies in Pirate Seas drop zombies onto your lawn, jetpack zombies in Far Future ignore ground entirely, and Dodo Rider zombies in Frostbite Caves combine flight with freezing abilities, layering threats until your brain short-circuits. Every zombie in this game, the RNG explosions, the flight mechanics, the mobility tricks, was deliberately created by Dr. Zomboss to test whether you can adapt under pressure. And here's the terrifying part. Most players never realize they're being tested until it's too late. But wait, there's more aerial chaos coming your way with the Bungie zombie, and this one is peak nightmare fuel. This zombie drops from above in final waves to steal your plants mid-fight or deploy other zombies directly onto your lawn. It's protected by height, meaning your ground defenses can't touch it until it descends, and the only counter is Umbrella Leaf, which costs 100 sun and creates a protective zone that prevents Bungie drops. Here's the evil genius of this design. Bungie zombies specifically target your most expensive plants, your cob cannons, melon pults, winter melons. The heavy hitters you spent 300 to 400 sun building, one Bungie drop and that investment is gone, stolen right off your lawn while you're trying to manage the ground horde. The adaptive AI is what makes this truly sadistic. Bungie zombies avoid cob cannons entirely, showing that Zomboss programmed them to recognize threats and prioritize survival. They appear in roof levels starting around 5-5, right when you're committing serious resources to building endgame defenses. And suddenly you're either planting umbrella leaves as insurance, which costs sun and plant slots, or accepting that your back row is vulnerable to random theft. The psychological toll is real. You're fighting a war on 2 fronts. Ground zombies eating your front line and aerial thieves stealing your damage dealers. And if you can't multitask fast enough, your entire strategy collapses in seconds. The Bungie zombie teaches you that in the apocalypse, your most valuable assets are the first things the enemy will target. And if you don't protect them preemptively, you lose them permanently. Militaries spend billions on air defense systems because drones, missiles, and aircraft don't care about your fences and trenches. The Jack-in-the-Box, Balloon, and Bungie zombies teach you that apocalypses aren't fair, that RNG and unexpected attack vectors will kill you faster than any head-on fight, and that the moment you think you've figured out the pattern, something explodes or flies over your head and turns your plans into fertilizer. But if you think explosions and flight are the peak of zombie creativity, brace yourself for the undead that rewrote physics and made you question reality itself. Level 5. Masterclass Zombies. We've reached level 5, where zombies stopped playing by the rules entirely and started attacking from directions you didn't even know existed. The Digger Zombie and Zomboni rank here because they introduce reverse attacks and environmental manipulation, two concepts that turn your defensive mindset into a tragic comedy of errors. The Digger Zombie has 390 health, moves at hungry speed, and digs underground with a pickaxe, tunneling beneath your entire lawn to emerge on the left side, behind every single plant you've built, and starts eating your defenses from the back forward. The Zomboni is a 150 health ice resurfacer driven by a zombie that crushes plants in its path at stiff speed, 6.75 seconds per tile, leaving a trail of ice that spawns zombie bobsled teams. 4 190 health undead that slide across the ice at speedy rates, 2.5 seconds per tile, turning one threat into a 5-zombie catastrophe that overruns your lane before you can replant. Let's start with why Digger Zombies are the stuff of nightmares for anyone who thought Back Row is safe. This thing appears in fog levels around 4-7, where you already can't see more than a few tiles ahead, and suddenly there's crunching sounds from the left side of your screen where nothing should be because that's where your house is. The standard defense paradigm is frontline tanks, midline damage, backline economy, but Digger Zombie inverts that by attacking your sunflowers and melon pults first, collapsing your economy and heavy hitters, while your walnuts at the front are just sitting there looking dumb. The counter is Magnet Shroom, which steals the pickaxe and forces the digger to walk normally from the right, or split peas and starfruit that shoot backwards. But here's the problem. You have to preemptively build rear defenses before you even know diggers are coming, which means spending sun on just-in-case plants while the front line is getting hammered by gargantuars and football zombies. If you don't prepare, your back row dies. If you over-prepare, your front collapses. It's a resource trap disguised as a tactical puzzle. Every zombie up until now trained you to think in terms of front line and back row. Digger Zombie just proved that concept is a lie. Your front line isn't protecting anything if the enemy tunnels underneath it. Your back row isn't safe if the enemy spawns there. Zomboni is environmental sabotage as a game mechanic. Showing up in level 4-1, this thing doesn't just crush plants. It fundamentally alters the battlefield by laying ice that enables an entirely different zombie type. The ice trail lasts until you melt it with jalapeno or clear the lane, and while it's there, zombie bobsled teams spawn and slide across it at speeds that make pole vaulters look sluggish. 4 zombies at once, each with basic health, moving fast enough that your pea shooters can't keep up unless you've stacked serious firepower. The optimal counter is jalapeno or fire plants to melt ice, but that's a one-time instant that costs 125 sun and doesn't solve the next Zomboni that rolls in 3 waves later. In Plants vs. Zombies 2, environmental manipulation gets even more sadistic. Pianist zombies in Wild West change lanes mid-fight, parasol zombies block lobbed attacks, and octo zombies in Big Wave Beach bind your plants with octopi that disable them until removed. The ladder zombie shows up with protected toughness and basic speed, carrying a ladder that it places on your defensive plants like walnuts and tall nuts, allowing other zombies to climb right over them. It first appears in roof levels around 5-3, and here's the nightmare. Those walnuts and tall nuts you spent 50 to 125 sun on to stall zombies, they're now ramps for the entire horde. The ladders ignore non-defensive plants unless they're protected by pumpkins, and once a ladder is placed, it's permanent until you remove the plant or blow up the lane. The counter is killing the ladder zombie before it reaches your defenses, which means instant kill plants like squash or cherry bomb, but if you're burning those resources on ladder zombies, you don't have them for gargantuars or catapult zombies. The ladder zombie teaches you that in the apocalypse, your defenses can be turned into enemy infrastructure, and if you don't stop the conversion fast enough, you're helping them win. Then there's the catapult zombie, a siege specialist that lobs basketballs at your rear plants, crushing them if it runs out of ammo. It has hardened toughness, basic speed, and specifically targets attackable plants in the back rows, bypassing your close-range defenses entirely. It appears in roof levels starting around 5-5. And here's the evil. While your front line is dealing with the ground horde, catapult zombies are launching projectiles that one-shot your cabbage pults, melon pults, and kernel pults before they can react. The only counters are blocking with Umbrella Leaf, which creates a protective zone but costs 100 sun and a plant slot, or using frontline blockers to stall the catapult long enough to kill it with heavy damage. But if you're committing resources to counter catapults, you're weak against the gargantuars and football zombies rushing your front line. The catapult zombie teaches you that apocalypses attack from multiple ranges simultaneously, and if you can't defend depth, you lose. And we can't forget about the Imp, the small, fast zombie with hungry speed that's typically thrown by gargantuars deep into your lines when they reach half health. The Imp has average toughness, 190 health, but its deep deployment is what makes it devastating. It lands 3 tiles back, directly on your sunflowers, melon poults, or any plant you were relying on to win the fight, and starts eating them while you're still trying to kill the Gargantuar in front. The imp turns every Gargantuar encounter into a two-front war, forcing you to split attention between a boss-level threat at the front and an assassin in the back. The counter is area effect plants like Cherry Bomb or having rear defenses ready, but most players aren't prepared for the imp because they're focused on surviving the Gargantuar. The imp teaches you that in the apocalypse, the biggest threat isn't always the strongest enemy, it's the unexpected flanker that kills you while you're distracted. The zombie bobsled team deserves special mention because it's environmental exploitation at its finest. These are groups of 4 zombies with average toughness per unit that spawn on ice trails left by Zombonis. They disembark and walk normally after the trail ends, but while they're on ice, they move at speedy rates, turning a single Zomboni event into multiple threats that overwhelm lanes in seconds. The psychological horror is multiplication. You thought you were fighting 1 ice resurfacer. Now you're fighting 5 zombies, 1 Zomboni plus 4 bobsledders, all moving faster than your pea shooters can target. The bobsled team teaches you that environmental changes don't just make the battlefield harder, they actively spawn new threats. And if you don't control the environment, you're fighting an exponentially growing horde. If you can't handle a zombie with a pickaxe and an ice resurfacer, you're definitely not surviving the level where the undead start summoning backup dancers and throwing other zombies at your house. Level 6, God tier zombies. Welcome to Level 6, where a single zombie can undo your entire defensive line and make you question if you even understand what tower defense means. The Gargantuar and Dancing Zombie rank here because they represent force multiplication and summoning mechanics, turning one threat into cascading disasters that overwhelm through raw power and tactical spawning. The Gargantuar is a 3,600 health giant that moves at hungry speed, swings a telephone pole that crushes plants in one hit for UOE 800 damage, and throws an imp at your back row when it reaches half health, creating a two-front war where you're fighting a boss and a flanking assassin simultaneously. The Dancing Zombie has 340 health, moves at basic speed, and summons 4 backup dancer zombies, 190 health each at basic speed, in formation around it, turning one undead into a 5-zombie dance crew that shreds through lanes via coordinated pressure and sheer numerical advantage. This behemoth first appears in roof levels around 5-8, and its health pool is so massive that normal damage plants like pea shooters and cabbage pults might as well be throwing confetti. A Gargantuar takes around 72 pea shooter shots to kill, which at their fire rate means you need multiple lanes of heavy firepower focused on one zombie while the rest of the horde is eating your other 4 lanes. The telephone pole swing is instant death for any plant. Walnut, tall nut, doesn't matter. One swing and it's gone, so stalling doesn't work. The only reliable counters are instant kills like squash, cherry bomb, or jalapeno, but those cost 50, 150, and 125 sun respectively, and you get maybe 3 seconds to react before the Gargantuar reaches your plants. Oh, and at half health, it throws an imp that lands 3 tiles back directly on your melon poults or sunflowers, forcing you to split attention between a dying giant in front and a fast-moving assassin in back. If you're not running gloom shrooms, cob cannons, or instant kill chains, one Gargantuar can collapse an entire lane, 2 Gargantuars, which happens in survival endless mode where they come in waves. The Dancing Zombie is summoning mechanics as psychological warfare. Appearing in night levels around 2-8, this zombie walks forward alone, which looks manageable, until it suddenly spawns 4 backup dancers in a cross formation, front, back, and sides, creating instant horde pressure in a lane you thought was under control. The dancers aren't individually tough, but they attack in sync, which means your single-target plants like chompers or potato mines only kill one while the other 4 keep advancing. The optimal counter is area of effect plants like cherry bomb, doom shroom, or heavy splash damage from winter melons, but again, those are expensive reactive tools. And if you're spending 150 plus sun to clear dancers, you're not building economy or dealing with the pole vaulter in lane 3. They have average toughness, 190 health each, and a sliding walk cycle. They can be resummoned if the Dancing Zombie leader survives, which means killing one set of dancers doesn't solve your problem if the summoner is still alive. This creates a priority, targeting Nightmare. Do you kill the dancers that are eating your plants right now, or focus fire on the Dancing Zombie to stop future spawns? Most players split damage ineffectively and let both threats succeed. The backup dancers teach you that summoner zombies are always the priority target, because minions are infinite as long as the source survives. That ignores your ground defenses entirely. The football zombie is a fast-moving headwear zombie with hardened toughness that appears in later stages, emphasizing the need for armor-stripping plants. This thing moves at hungry speed, nearly 25% faster than basics, and wears a helmet that Magnet Shroom can remove to expose its vulnerability. But here's the trap. The football zombie combines speed, armor, and high durability into one package, which means it's chewing through your plants faster than you can react while also soaking enough damage that normal shooters can't stop it. It first shows up around level 3-4, right when you're getting comfortable with your cone head and bucket head counters, and suddenly you're dealing with a zombie that has the speed of a pole vaulter and the toughness of a bucket head. The only reliable counter is Magnet Shroom to strip the helmet, followed by heavy concentrated fire from multiple plants, or instant kills if you're desperate. The football zombie teaches you that speed plus armor equals an exponential threat increase. And if you can't strip one advantage or the other, you're watching your lane collapse in real time. In Plants vs. Zombies 2, summoning gets even more oppressive. Discotron 3000 in Far Future spawns disco jetpack zombies that fly, wizard zombies in Dark Ages turn your plants into sheep, and turquoise skull zombies in Lost City fire lasers that zap plants instantly. The pattern is always the same. One zombie becomes five. 5 zombies become overwhelming pressure, and your carefully managed lanes turn into chaos because you can't kill things fast enough. One zombie that summons or throws minions turns individual threats into coordinated assaults, which is how outnumbered forces win battles. Not by being strong, but by making the enemy fight multiple threats simultaneously until their attention splinters and their defenses crack. The Gargantuar and Dancing Zombie teach you that apocalypses aren't survived by killing every threat. They're survived by prioritizing the threats that multiply into 10 more threats, and if you don't identify those priorities fast enough, you're dead before you realize you lost. But if you think a giant with a telephone pole and a zombie with backup dancers are the final boss of undead evolution, you're adorably naive, because we've arrived at the zombie that literally embodies the apocalypse itself. Level 7, Super Eam Zombies. Dr. Edgar George, Zomboss, piloting a Zombot mech that doesn't just threaten your lawn, it threatens the concept of fair gameplay itself. Dr. Zomboss ranks at the top because he's not a zombie, he's the architect of the apocalypse, the mad scientist who turned death into an invasion force, and his boss fight in level 5-10 of Plants vs. Zombies 1 is a multi-phase nightmare that combines randomized attacks, minion spawning, and environmental destruction into a fight that tests every skill you've learned and punishes every mistake you've made. The Zombot is a giant robot head on tank treads that crushes plants by rolling forward, drops ice balls and fireballs that freeze or burn entire columns, throws bungee zombies that steal your plants mid-fight, and spawns regular zombies to distract you while it charges its next attack. Zomboss himself has no fixed health bar. You damage the Zombot by hitting it with instant kill plants during vulnerable moments, and the fight is timed, meaning if you don't kill it before it reaches your house, you lose. Full stop. Dr. Zomboss isn't just strong, he's intelligent, which makes him terrifying in ways Gargantuars and pole vaulters never achieve. He's the series antagonist who invents time machines in Plants vs. Zombies 2 to chase you through history, builds robot armies in Garden Warfare, and commands every zombie outbreak from behind the scenes with a combination of ego. He lost a science fair to Crazy Dave and started the zombie apocalypse out of spite, and genuine scientific brilliance. The Zombot fight forces you to adapt in real time. Fireballs mean you need ice plants like Ice Shroom. Ice balls mean you need fire plants like Jalapeno. And you're constantly reacting to which attack is coming while managing the zombie hordes he spawns and dodging his RV crush attack that flattens entire rows. The vulnerable moments are tiny windows where his mech lowers its head after an attack, giving you maybe 2 seconds to hit it with a Jalapeno or Ice Shroom before it pulls back and starts the next phase. Zomboss is level 7, but not because of his mech. Every zombie you fought before him, the browncoats that taught you complacency, the pole vaulters that punished static defenses, the diggers that inverted your assumptions, they were all part of his curriculum. The Zombot isn't the threat. The threat is that you've been playing exactly how Zomboss designed you to play. And by the time you realize it in this fight, your economy is bleeding out and he's already throwing imps at your back row. The deadliest part of Plants vs. Zombies isn't the final boss. It's the slow, creeping realization that you trained yourself to lose. In Plants vs. Zombies 2, Zomboss evolves into era-specific Zombots. Ancient Egypt's Zombot Sphinx Innator creates tombstones via missiles that block your plant placement, forcing you to fight around obstacles while managing his attacks. Pirate Seas features Zombot Plankwalker that rains imps onto your lawn, creating constant backline pressure while you're trying to damage the boss. Far Future's Zombot Tomorrowtron activates power tiles that boost zombie abilities, turning normal threats into enhanced nightmares. Each iteration shows that the apocalypse learns and escalates across time, adapting its tactics to exploit new vulnerabilities. Dr. Zomboss is the embodiment of every apocalypse, intelligent, relentless, adaptive, and willing to burn everything to achieve his goal, which in his case is revenge for a lost science fair and unlimited access to brains. The Zombot fight teaches you the ultimate lesson of any apocalypse scenario: holding the disaster together and throwing everything you've got at that one target before it crushes you under a wave of secondary problems. If you enjoyed this video and want to see the 7 levels of zombie viruses, click the video on the screen.